All right, these college protests continue around the country, and there's something that we heard out of Benjamin Netanyahu's office in Israel today that could trigger still more of the protests, because he is determined to get tough in this war on Hamas, and that no matter what they decide on other matters, an invasion of Rafah is on, and none of that has changed, and that is despite talk of a deal being made with Hamas for a temporary drop in activity and tensions and the release of hostages. But that could agitate a lot of folks. It's already doing so at the White House. I want to go right now to Yonah Jeremy Bob, the Target Tehran author, Jerusalem Post senior military correspondent, intelligence analyst, literary editor. Yonah, very good to have you. Depending on perspective, of course, Yonah, I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu is well within his rights to conduct this war as he sees fit, the controversies notwithstanding. But with the backdrop of these college campus protests, there are quite a few going on in the United States, as you're aware. Many say he's going to agitate that all over again. What do you think of that?
So look, when we talk about invading Rafah, that's right, deep southern Gaza, it's the only part that Hamas's military forces, terrorists, whatever you want to call them, still exist. There were 24 Hamas battalions at the beginning of the war. Israel's taken apart 18 to 19 of them. All that's left, somewhere between 4,000 to 8,000 fighters or terrorists, are in Rafah. So the question is, what happens to them? Now, if Israel needs to go into Rafah to take it apart, it will. If there's a deal that returns the hostages and makes some sort of arrangement so that those fighters will give up their weapons or won't show their faces in public, and Hamas will not be able to exist as a military force, that's the key point for Netanyahu. Netanyahu said he was going to annihilate Hamas. He hasn't, right? Hamas still politically exists. It still is the strongest force in Gaza with all of its losses. But at least if he can say, I took apart every single one of its military battalions, it doesn't exist as a military force in Gaza anymore, that is something that he could go to Israeli elections. Yes, campus issues in the United States matter to Israel. Anti-Semitism matters to Israel. But politics is always local. Netanyahu is looking at potential Israeli elections, and that's something that he could take there.
You know, what do you, and even in Jerusalem Post reporting on these protests going on around the world, particularly the ones that have cropped up in the last few weeks in the United States, so they're always anti-Israel. And I'm just wondering how folks back in Israel, and of course you have a worldwide audience, but what kind of reaction you get?
Right. So we do have millions of viewers worldwide. And so our audience is both in Israel and around the globe. We're all over the protests. I think we've had, periods of time where we might have had 5 or 6 stories on the website about Columbia and Yale and Brown and the other campuses all at once. It's very important to us to let the world know what's going on there. Look, it's very disturbing. I'm an American and I'm an Israeli, so it's disturbing as both. What's going on at Columbia and these other campuses. I think it's important that campuses find a way to, on one hand, yes, allow free speech, allow people to criticize whoever they want to criticize, but breaking into Hamilton Hall, breaking windows, creating an environment on campus that's hostile debate, that's not free speech. And so I think the campuses do need to push back. They needed to act faster, and I hope they still get their act together fast and soon.
You know, when Jews are specifically targeted, though, Yonah, I'm sure you hearken back to periods in history where the same thing happened. Do you worry about that?
Right. So, right. If it was a vacuum and there wasn't, thousands of years of Jews being slaughtered, it's not just the Holocaust where 6 million Jews were slaughtered. It's also, pogroms, destroying Jewish villages that happened in a number of places around the world over the course of history. That's why there is a state of Israel. Obviously, the United States is a fantastic place for American Jewry. But right now, suddenly, a lot of American Jews who thought, hey, nothing could ever happen here. Jews are always safe here. This is the land of opportunity, the ultimate melting pot for everyone. Suddenly, there are American Jews who are worried, and that needs to stop. And the campuses seem to be sort of the front lines of that. So I do, again, hope that the campuses, the university presidents take a stronger stand and say, you know what? Standing up for free speech doesn't mean standing up for hate, doesn't mean creating an environment that's hostile to free speech, where people are talking about genocide, where people put up videos about Zionists don't have a right to live. Those are things that cannot stand on campus.
Scary times, to put it mildly. Yonah, thank you very much. We enjoyed having you.
Thank you.